the requirement for you to become a citizen in Australia is that you must have been in the country for at least 4 years.
Counts towards you getting your permanent residency. Why are people coming to the UK?
You can apply for PR even while you're still a student to become a PR.
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. You know, the Queen of Resources is here. So I have invited an amazing guest. She's currently in Australia. She's coming to share, things that you do not know about. So if you're interested in migrating to Australia, you need to watch this video till the end. So it is so nice to have you on my platform. Thank you so much for doing this. I know the time difference is a whole lot and you had to give me your precious time, which I really appreciate. So I'll let you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much, Faith. I'm so excited to have been invited. Hi everyone, my name is Chioma, and you can already see my YouTube handle on my side of the screen. So I have a YouTube channel. It's Life with Chioma. I live in Australia. I am a social worker here. I qualified as a social worker here in Australia, and it was actually a pathway to permanent residency and subsequently citizenship for me.
This is amazing knowing that we have someone like my Nigerian sister in Australia who is a citizen, and you've been there for 7 years. So I'm very confident you have so many insights and information on pathway that would help those who wish to migrate to Australia. So can you give us how are you finding Australia? How is the country like? We've been hearing a lot of good and bad about the country. You live there, so I'm sure you have the best answer to this question.
I'll be interested to hear the bad side you've heard, because I am more than happy to talk about the good sides. Okay, so Australia is an amazing place to live in. That's the truth. It's a family-friendly country, lovely to raise kids here. The weather is perfect. We don't have brutal winters I don't know how the winters are in the UK, but I don't think it compares to Australia, because there's lots of people who come from the UK here and they're all just gushing about the weather. Australia is beautiful also economically, because we have one of the highest minimum wages in the world. It's just a beautiful country. Okay, if you can look beyond the distance.
It's one of the it's one of the things a lot of people complain of. It's far from everywhere and they import things, so cost of living is high. But I don't know, compared to the UK, I feel like it's the same thing. Cost of living is generally high everywhere at this point.
Yeah, that's completely true. I feel like everything just balances out in a way, because the cost of living is high, but the salaries are high as well to offset the cost of living. You can still make a great life here, still be able to save. So I don't see what the issue is. And in terms of importing things, yes, we do import things, but I feel like Australia also produces a lot and exports a lot as well. So it's not like we're relying, just on importing stuff to be able to live our lives here. So yeah, it's a beautiful place to be.
Tell me how you migrated to Australia. I'm guessing you're a Nigerian and you're living in Australia. So tell me the details, step-by-step process on how you move and how was your process, your experience like?
So we moved 7 years ago. That was in 2015. And when I say we, I mean myself and my family, because obviously, I didn't move alone. We're a family of 4. So we came through the study pathway. My husband came in first on a student visa. That was in 2015. And then we joined him a few months later. So how it works is that the student visa allows you to bring in family, and you can either travel together as a family unit when you come in, or you can decide to travel separately. So in our case, we made the decision to travel separately. And I've also heard a lot of agents advising for people to travel separately. I think it has to do with the risk level of the country that you're coming from. So Nigeria, as you can imagine, is considered sort of like a high-risk country, and it was considered a high-risk country back then. So the advice was for us to travel separately. But it is a very simple process. As soon as the primary visa holder starts their course, they can apply for the rest of their family members to join. And I'm talking about as soon as you start your studies. So you can lodge that application on the same day that you start your studies, right?
Wow.
And that was actually what happened in our own case. So my husband started his studies a month after he arrived here. And then as soon as he started, we lodged our application. And 2 months later, the visa was granted. So all in all, we stayed apart for just 2.5 months or maybe 3 months maximum. And then we joined him here in Australia. So a year after that, I had been in Australia for 1 year when I decided to study social work. So social work was and still is on the skilled occupation list. It is a strong pathway towards permanent residency here. So I studied social work. That was in 2016. It was just a 2-year program. It was a master's program. So I finished in 2018. And as soon as I finished, the same year that I finished, we lodged our PR application. So I finished in August, and then by 1st of January of the following year, we were ready to lodge our application. Now, it's not because there's a requirement on how long you should stay before you lodge your PR application. It was just when we were ready to lodge the application. So we lodged it, and that was in January. And then by August of the same year, we were granted permanent residency. And that was in 2020. By that time, we had been in the country for 5 years already, and the requirement for you to become a citizen in Australia is that you must have been in the country for at least 4 years, and 1 out of those 4 years must have been spent on a permanent residency visa. So for us, we had been in the country for 5 years, but we had not met the 1-year permanent residency requirement. So we had to wait another 1 year until we applied for citizenship. And in 2021, we became citizens. So that's kind of a nutshell of our journey. Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, so I didn't know that, like Australia, the requirement to apply for resident permits is not like the UK. Like the UK, you have to have lived in the UK on a particular visa, because not every visa leads to permanent residency. Like if you move to the UK on a student visa, all the years you spent on that student visa will not count towards you getting your permanent residency.
That's interesting.
Why are people coming to the UK? Because if you can move to Australia on a student visa, and that time you spent on a student visa counts towards you getting your permanent residency, why are people coming to the UK?
It's interesting because there's no time requirement on when you can apply for PR here. You can apply for permanent residency from Nigeria. You can apply for permanent residency straight from your country and come into Australia as a permanent resident. There are people that I know personally, some of them are YouTubers as well, and they share their experiences of how they apply for PR straight from Nigeria, got it, and came into Australia. So for people like that, once they spend 4 years in Australia, they are qualified to apply for citizenship. There's no time requirement that counts towards when you would be eligible for PR. Yeah.
Wow.
You can even be on a student visa. But maybe if, for instance, you come in to study a master's and then you discover that your previous qualification, which would be a bachelor degree, can be accepted for you to apply for PR. You can apply for PR even while you're still a student to become a PR, maybe abandon your studies if that's what you want to do, or continue as a permanent resident. So yeah, they don't have restrictions around that.
That's great. So what you're advising people is, if you're coming via study route, you have to check if the course you're coming to study is eligible for the PR.
Yes, that is super important. Very important.
Not all the courses that is eligible.
No, not all courses. Not all courses have a pathway to permanent residency. Not all courses have a potential to lead to permanent residency. So people have to be really careful. In a nutshell, okay, because I get a lot of people asking me, I want to come and study an MBA. I want to come and study this. I want to come and study that. An MBA will not take you anywhere. If you're looking to study towards becoming a permanent resident, the first thing I would recommend is have a look on the skilled occupation list for Australia. Study that list as if your life depends on it. And then you can choose a course that will lead to one of the occupations on that list. But it doesn't end there. Your research should not end there. You also want to find out how that particular occupation has fared in the invitations for permanent residency. So maybe I'll backtrack a little and give you a bit of an overview of how the permanent residency thing works. So it is points tested. And what it means is that you have to score points under certain categories like age, English language, your qualifications, your work experience, and the exact kind of visa that you're applying for. So there's different options that you can choose for the permanent residency visa. There's 3 popular options. Okay, so depending on the option of visa that you choose and the scores that you get under those categories that I have mentioned, the requirement is that you should score at least 65. Okay, so 65 is the cutoff. If you sum up your scores or your points rather, and you're making up to 65 or above 65, then you're eligible to apply. Okay, and the application process goes through what they call a skill select process. Okay, you express interest, and then if you're invited to apply, you go ahead and apply. So what I say to people is that even if you see an occupation on the skilled occupation list, you want to go and find out how that occupation has fared in the invitation rounds. Some occupations are so highly competitive because there's lots of people applying under that occupation. And so what it does is, it's just a demand and supply thing. Because there's so many people there, the department will only invite people who are scoring the highest points. So even though the cutoff is 65, you might get people scoring up to 90. And of course, those people will be invited first. So you also want to make sure that you're not choosing an occupation that is quite steep in terms of meeting those requirements. If you have checked your own points, like do it yourself, do a self-assessment, check how many points you're getting. If you're just sitting at that 65 and you can see that in previous invitation rounds, they have only selected people scoring up to 80, 90, and you're only scoring 65, please do not go for that occupation. Look for something else. So that's what I usually also advise people. So it's not only about just choosing something on the skilled occupation list, but choose something that will be easy enough for you to meet the requirements to apply under that occupation.
That's great, guys. As you can see, Life with Trauma is on YouTube. Of course, she's not on YouTube, she will not be on my channel. So she's on YouTube. She talks about everything Australia. I mean, who is the best person for you to subscribe to? She knows this, she's a citizen. So guys, first, hold on, click out of this video, head to our YouTube channel and subscribe. I mean, leave a comment, tell her from Faith, so that she gets to know that
thank you,
we are moving. So guys, please head to our YouTube channel. I'll leave the link in the description box below, and I'll also tag her on this video, so it'll be easier for you to just find her channel and check my community post. I'll leave her channel there. Head to our channels, leave a comment if you have any question in any of our videos, and she would gladly respond to you. So moving on, let's talk about the work crowd. I mean, recently I saw that Australia has increased their cap on letting in people on the work crowd. So what do you know about the work crowd to Australia?
Yeah, so as you rightly said, the cap has been increased, and I think that is a direct result of the economic challenges we've faced since the start of COVID. And so lifting that cap is part of the economic recovery process for Australia. So they are looking to sponsor people. Employers are reporting difficulties in recruiting, not being able to find enough local workers. Even me as a social worker, I've been tempted several times to jump ship, jump from from where I work to another one, because it's like, this is the best time for you to be negotiating things for yourself, because employers are looking for people.
Yeah.
So the cap was recently raised to 195,000. That represents an extra 35,000 that has been added to the previous number. The specific industries that are experiencing critical shortages would be in childcare, nursing, disability support, aged care support, engineers, ICT people, there's a whole list of people that they are looking for. I actually have a list here. So electricians, chefs, yeah, I've mentioned child carers and registered nurses here. So
Wow.
These are some of the people that Australia is looking for. So if you have your qualifications or experience in any of these industries, please, this is not the time to be sleeping on this information. This is the time to be acting. And then the visa pathway that brings people into Australia on the employer-sponsored route is the 482 visa. That is the temporary skills shortage visa. And how it works is that you first of all have to find an employer that is willing to sponsor you. And then once you secure that job, you get your employment contract and everything. Sometimes your employer might even help you to lodge that visa. And some employers also offer a relocation package. So they would pay for your tickets and everything. They would allow you come in with your family, even help you settle, like help you find a house to settle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's how that visa works. But there are other visas. There's lots of visas that are available for people to take advantage of. Australia is also very keen on attracting people to come live in regional areas, what they classify as regional areas. And these areas are low population areas. So when I say regional, I don't want you to be thinking it's one remote village somewhere. It just means that it's a low population area. So if you're interested in regional migration, there are also some incentives that the government applies to people who want to come to regional areas. For instance, they give you 15 extra points in the points tested system that I was talking about. So let's say you calculate your points and you're scoring 65. If you're coming to a regional area, they give you an additional 15 points. So that is massive. Yes, that is massive. So just like that, you can land at 75 points, and that can make a huge difference in whether you get invited or not. So yeah, there's lots of visas available.
If you want to get more information, you have any question, head to her channel. You can see there's so many information that we can't really cover in a video. Head to our channel, subscribe, and ask her question. I'm sure you are willing to help support people, put people through, people who are interested in this process. So, I mean, she's our beloved sister in Australia. She's definitely going to support you. So, the only way you can get her to support you is subscribe to our channel. First of all, do your research by watching the videos she already shared on our channel. She has a lot of very insightful videos. And when you have any further question, then you can, ask her question. So what would be your final advice for people who are really interested in Australia? Because a lot of people have this perception that migrating to Australia is a lot difficult and it's not easy to get it from Nigeria. So, I mean, what would be your advice and your encouragement to those people?
Yeah. Just as you and I were discussing before we actually started, I think the most important thing is to get the right information. Once you get the right information, half of the work is done. That is how I see it. Half of the work is done when you get the right information. Unfortunately, people tend to run away from research. And that is actually what will set you up for success. That's, there are no two ways about it. You should get ready to do some work for yourself. That is my biggest advice. Even on my channel, I say it all the time. Get ready. You're going to do some work, but be willing to do that work. Commit to doing that work, and that is how you will get results. Whether you're migrating to Australia or to the UK or to the US, you still need to know the right information. So I don't think migrating to Australia is difficult. Yes, it might be a little more expensive, because Australia is far, and it might be a little bit more expensive, but the way I see it, it's something that if you start planning ahead of time, like if you commit to that process and then you start planning, you would know exactly what you need to be doing to make it easier for yourself. Migrating to Australia is not hard. I'm going to say that. Yeah.
I mean, thank you so much for coming on this live. Guys, I'll say for the last time, head to her YouTube channel, Life with Chioma. I'll leave the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for coming on this live with me. I really, really appreciate it. Okay, so guys,
thank you so much, Faith.
Subscribe to my
channel. I really appreciate the invite.
Chioma. I mean, subscribe to our channel for more information. And guys, I will see you in my next video.